Okay, so now I'm going to show you the 7 steps for profiting from social media ads. So, where we're at in the process, number one, I showed you last week on the live. We went out, sent out cold emails. I showed you the responses, how that worked. I showed you the exact email. Then what we did is we played the sales call of converting that client into a $3,000 a month client in my business. What I'm going to show you now is how do you deliver the service? Because there's 3 pillars to every business. There's leads, there's sales, and there's service. These are the things that you really got to focus on. And if you're not making the money that you want, your focus has to be number one, how do we get appointments on the books? How do we close appointments on the books? And then what are the systems to actually deliver that service and scale your business? So this is my process that I've developed for running social media ads. So Facebook ads, Instagram ads, and it's 7 steps. There's number one, you got evaluation and goal setting. Number two, so number one is evaluation and goal setting. That's figuring out what is the client's goals and kind of intaking and figuring out, where they're at, where they want to go. And a lot of this is going to be done on that sales call, as you heard me do, figuring out the client's goals. If it's your goals, you got to know what you're trying to achieve. Number two then is the market research blueprint. And this is looking at because you never market in a vacuum, right? There's always going to be competition. So this is going out, seeing what other people are doing in the market, seeing what things they're doing correct, seeing what things they're doing wrong, and also figuring out whether it's your business, it's figuring out who's your ideal customer. If it's their business, figuring out kind of who is the person that we're marketing to, right? In the case of NeoGraft, it's men over 30 that are losing their hair that want this procedure to have a fuller set of hair. After that, we go to step 3, which is hitting the marketing bullseye, right? The marketing bullseye is getting that message to market match right and also having that positioning. So we're going to cover that. After that, once you have your messaging done, you've done a lot of the groundwork, a lot of the research. It's actually how do you create the ad, right? How do you use Instagram? How do you use Facebook? What are the buttons that you actually press to actually get your social lead machine live? That way you could set this thing up within 60 minutes. In my agency, we still do this. We set it up in 40 minutes or less when we take on a new client. That way it's pretty scalable, right? It's not like other service work where you're getting paid for the hour. It's really quickly. Once you set this up, and then it's just the managing of the campaign. But essentially, it's setting up your social lead machine, what buttons to click. I'm going to show you how to do this on an ultra budget. And I'm also going to show you the tools that you could add on to kind of optimize it. Next, after that, once you have your ads running, and again, you could have those ads running within 24 hours, generating leads for yourself or for your clients. And that's very important. This could be done as well for yourself. So don't just think of this as a service to deliver for clients. You could also run this if you have a web design business, a swag business, whatever business you have. You could use social media ads to generate leads for yourself. That way you're not out there cold prospecting and you get people on your calendar saying, hey, I want your help. So that's step 4. Step 5 is then the optimize and scale. This is how you read your numbers, which is really important. When do you kill an ad? How do you scale the ad to get more leads? So I'll cover that in great detail. After that, we're going to go over the lead nurture and conversion system, which is really, really important because if you're handling these leads yourself, you're going to want to know the best procedures on how to handle them. If you heard my phone call from last week, essentially I was doing some of the lead nurturing coaching on that actual phone call. But you really want, if it's your business, you want to know how to handle the leads because no point in generating leads if you don't know how to convert them. If it's their business, it's important for 2 reasons. Number one, you want to be able to manage expectations. And number 2, you want to give them the greatest chance of success with the leads that you're going to give them. And one of the biggest mistakes I see in almost every one of these, and there's hundreds of them, right? And some are good, some are bad. But the Facebook ads training courses on how to start your agency, there are not many of them that cover the lead conversion part and the lead nurture part, which is essential and really the key if you want to have your clients sticking month after month, right? If you want that $3,000 check coming in, $3,000 credit card payment every single month from your client. And last is turning your skill into a business. So with that said, this system is a combination of me doing Facebook ads and social media ads for 5 years. spending over $2.5 million of my own money and counting, and basically going out, networking, spending money on seminars, and becoming friends with some of the top marketers in the world. So people like Jason Hornig, Billy Jean, Joe Polish. So these are people that, that I could literally call or text and they'll get back to me. So I've had access to some of the best Facebook ads experts in the world, as well as going out there, pretty much picking up every course on this material and then spending my own money. So this is really what the combination of this system is. And again, it's these 7 steps. So with that said, we're going to get right into it. So evaluation and goal setting. So that's really the first step. And really, you cannot help your client until you clearly understand their objectives, choose a call to action, and define success and what that looks like for them. So really the stuff that I look for before I actually ever even write an ad or do anything is I want to know what's the goal, what is the niche that we're going to go after, what is their margin, what is their offer, and what is the competition doing. So with the example of NeoGraft, you could see I got that goal on the phone. He wanted to make, I think it was an extra 4 NeoGraft patients per clinic, and he said his average client was $9,000. So I knew the niche, we knew the goal. He covered his margin, which I think he said was 35%. And then obviously the offer was something that I went and figured out in the market research phase, which is I saw what other people were running for NeoGraft, other hair restoration ads, and I made my own offer out of that, which was a free consultation plus $1,500 off NeoGraft. So that's really what you want to know before you run it, and I'll show you how you go about figuring that out. So obviously the easiest way to figure this stuff out is through the initial sales conversations that you have with them. So in my audit call, these are the questions that I'm asking. Also on that second call, these are the questions that I'm asking. I also, right before we start everyone's ad, we do an onboarding call. So any of these questions I haven't asked them, I'll ask them. So what's their current process for making sales? So whatever the niche is, where do they currently get leads from? What have they tried in the past? Because a lot of times they might have done stuff in the past that has worked really well for them. For example, I'm not going to give away the niche, but we had a client that we were having trouble figuring out the offer for him. And he had mentioned that he had ran a TV ad very successful. And then the problem was less and less people went on TV. But we actually were able to take that same exact offer from TV, plop it on. We actually used the real TV commercial that he made, and we turned that into a Facebook and Instagram ad, and that worked like gangbusters. So you want to ask them, what have you tried in the past? Do you have marketing systems for generating leads? Do you know where your best clients come from? Do you have trackable marketing systems in place? Do you know how many contacts it takes your company to convert a prospect into a client? What is your current close rate? These are all things you want to know. If it's yourself that you're running ads for, again, you want to figure out what's your process. Where do you currently get leads from? So whether it's yourself as a client or a client you're taking on, those are the things you want to know. The most important thing you want to know is what can they afford to spend to acquire a customer? And this is something I always try to get in every sales conversation is what's their lifetime value? What's the average first-time client value? In the NeoGraft, it was $9,000. And then it's really what is their margin? That way we can know how much can we afford to buy a customer, because that's ultimately the system we're trying to set in. We're trying to set in essentially a vending machine where, hey, you put in $100 and a client comes out, right? Or a slot machine that, and these are analogies that I'll use, if you could put $1 into a slot machine and $2 come out, how many times would you play on that slot machine? And that's essentially the system we're trying to build. And what's great about social media ads and this type of stuff is you can really get down to where you have that consistent and predictability to where for every $2 you put in, you got $4 coming back out. Or for every $2, you got 10 coming out. And again, this comes down to knowing their margin. So you want to find out, the way to find out their margin is what is their revenue. Margin equals revenue minus operating cost divided by revenue. So you want to figure this out. And this really tells you, hey, how much can we spend to acquire a customer and we break even? Sometimes you might have to, like for example, in the dental niche, you might have to figure out their value ladder, which is a concept of essentially having a loss leader. Whether it's free teeth whitening might be essentially the way to get them in the door, and then you have built in the number of upsells such as like retainers or custom teeth whitening kits or a crown, right? So that way we're trying to figure out what is that lifetime value of a client. So like I said, we want to figure out what is our goal, why, and then we want to reverse engineer it. So that is really step one, is to intake essentially what we're looking to figure out for the client. Or if it's yourself, you're trying to figure out what's your goal, why, and reverse engineer it. And a lot of this, if it's yourself, it's taking a pad of paper, figuring out what is your revenue goal, how many Facebook leads or social media leads do you need to get that. And if it's your client, again, this is stuff you're going to pull out of them. Usually it's going to happen in that audit call or that second call, which again, you could hear me figure out, hey, what would be the impact of this on your business if we got you to $35,000 a month in revenue. So that's step one. And we'll go into step two in a